Hello and welcome back. It's been another month in my Knit a Stash challenge, and I'd like to show you guys what I've made so far. This whole accountability thing, how it's going, and all of these things. So let's get into it. Let's start with the big thing. I've finished something, woohoo, which is great. This is the Quicksand shawl. It's brilliant. Also, the sun is shining in my face and on everything. Anyway, long shawl done. Very beautiful, just in time for the end of winter, which is so typical for me because I cannot knit season appropriate for the life of me. It's impossible. In winter, I knit winter things, so they're finished by the time spring comes around, and in summer, I knit. Actually, I also knit winter things. It's a bit strange. Always knit winter things. Anyway, done one thing. This is 400 grams of yarn just gone, making such a big dent in my yarn stash, which is amazing, which is exactly what I wanted, right? So this yarn has been in my stash for past, I think, 3 years, 3 or 4 years, maybe even. And it feels really good to have finally made something with it. And also, I'm so pleased with how this pattern turned out because it is actually really pretty. This is brioche. I've never made anything with brioche. Now I'm a big fan of it because it is squishy, so squishy. And obviously cables, which I'm really not a big fan of, but looks really good in this one. And because they're very simple cables, it wasn't too difficult. Very pleased with this one. I am going to sell it, or I'm trying to sell it, because I do not have any need for any more scarves and shawls and wraps. But I'm really pleased with it. So if nobody buys it, I'm actually quite happy. I'm going to be happy to keep it. But anyway, yes, really good. Very big success for me just to have something done. Great. I have also made one sock, one singular sock. It is off the needles right now. The problem I had with this sock is that while I do love the pattern, it's really, I mean, can't show you much more. It's really pretty, really beautiful with all of these cats. Um, I've made a few mistakes, so I had to start again, do the color work again with a different technique, and then I made it even worse by, I mean, I'm going to show you now. You can see how I made a mistake in the color work here in the pattern. At that point, I was not willing to go back too much, and I just kept on going with it. Yes, just repaired, not repaired, it just kept on going. Started the little pattern again. So, not the most pleased with this one, which is why I'm kind of struggling with the second one even more than usually. You know, the second sock syndrome. And yeah, it's not easy when you make so many mistakes. So I made actually quite a few mistakes. For one, I just continued the ribbing once I added the red one, which was not supposed to happen. I just did it. So now with the second one, which I have started, I have to make the same mistake, which feels a bit weird. Um, then, as I said, there was a mistake with the floats that I had in the color work. So I had to redo that. So I think I made it up till here before I decided it's not worth it. I just have to redo the whole color work. And then I made this mistake here. So not the happiest knitting experience, which is tainting this whole thing a bit. But at the end of the day, those are socks. I mean, I'm going to wear them anyway. Nobody's going to see that. Nobody's going to notice it when I wear shoes with it. And they are really pretty. And after a few washes, it won't look quite the same anyway. So I'm okay with it, but it is tainting the whole knitting experience the tiniest bit. But anyway, one sock done. This was scrap yarn and stash yarn, so a mix of everything. And another thing done. It's great. Another little tiniest dent in my yarn stash made, but still good. Still proud of it. When I finished the big quicksand shawl, which was my main pattern, I went actually back to this thing that I've been making. I call it the shoreline shawl. Sometimes I call it waves, whatever. It is not really a pattern. It's something I'm making up. There are supposed to be like waves on it, and when I'm done, I'm going to make some embroidery on it to just drive home the fact that there's a bit of waves. And just the splash of the waves. Anyway, so this is now my main project. I'm trying to work on this for about 1 hour every day, which I have been doing the last few days since I stopped with the quicksand. And I have this much of the blue left. I need to weigh it. It doesn't look very much. It isn't very much. It's probably less than 10 grams at this point. I am not sure I'm going to finish this whole shawl in March, but I am very sure I'm going to finish this blue. I don't have any of the blue left. Once I'm done with the blue, I'm going to add white, as I said, so because there's also going to be some white embroidery on it, and the shawl is going to finish with some white, again looking like waves coming into the shawl. That is at least my plan. Let's see if it works out, if it looks like I want it to be. But yeah, that's my plan for March. Finish up this bit of yarn, starting on a white. Not sure I can finish this, but maybe I will. So if I'm knitting on it 1 hour a day, I should be able to actually get quite a bit done with this. 1 hour at this point in the pattern gives me about 5 or 6 rows, I think, which again doesn't sound much, but because it's mohair, it's quite big. So it's not like normal lace where 5 rows gives you a centimeter. 5 rows in this one gives you quite a chunk. So every day this grows a bit, but it needs to grow actually a lot more. This is going to be a semicircle, and the circle thing, I am estimating currently it's at 140, 150 centimeters in the circle, but that it doesn't mean anything because, you know, with a circle, you need the radius, and the radius at the moment, so this will actually be the long side. It's much shorter. I measured it just this morning. I think it's now at 110 centimeters, which is not enough. It is not enough by far. You need a lot more for a nice shawl, so you can wrap it around at least your shoulders. Also losing stitches as always when I show things. Thankfully it's mohair, so that makes it very easy. Mohair doesn't like to be frocked. That's the shoreline shawl. This is my other things. So as I said, I have started on the second sock. This is how far I got. Still doing the red ribbing, which I honestly don't hate too much because it gives me a bit more ribbing, meaning the sock is a bit more snug around the ankle, which is actually an advantage. And then this is my other kind of biggish project. It's going to be a wrap. It's going to be really easy. So at the moment, this is only garter stitch, not even garter stitch. It's stocking stitch, because it is on, because it is on the round. This is growing quite quickly, as you would expect, because there is no pattern to it, but it is still like semi-transparent. Well, you can definitely see through it, so it doesn't matter all too much. So I'm just going to add a few more centimeters. At the moment we have about 20, a bit more than 20 centimeters here. I think the center of the wrap, I want it to be about 50 or 60 centimeters, actually quite a lot more, which is kind of really lucky for my whole project of, you know, reducing the stash. I've started using this ball of yarn, but I have a lot more of that. So this is definitely a project where I'm not at all concerned that I don't have enough yarn. This, I'm not going to run out of anything here. This is not yarn chicken of any type. I have so much. I'm going to finish this one and we'll still have a lot left over. So these are my projects. So this is everything I'm working on right now, which doesn't seem too much. I watched a video earlier this day where somebody was showing their whips and they had 11, which is a lot. So I'm thinking I've got 4 whips at the moment, which I find a lot, but it's not 11. It's nowhere close to 11, and they're all very different, which is very important for me. So let's check in with the little basket of wool. It doesn't look so much less. It still is really full. Most of this is not most of this, but a lot of this is the blue thing that I'm going to use. I still have this one, which I still love the look of it. Still have not really found the pattern for it that I want to use. and I have all of my red stuff, and I also have all of my jumper quantity blue stuff. Been looking at so many jumper patterns recently, and I think I know what I want. In the beginning, I wanted to have a hoodie, but now I've seen so many other ones, so many other really lovely jumper patterns that I'm not sure I want to do a hoodie anymore. But I haven't yet decided on it. However, what I really found out when I made the quicksand shawl with this gigantic big 400 grams ball of yarn, and that just went away because that ball of yarn, it was about half of this basket. I really just realized I want to do big projects that use up a lot of yarn, because that is really nice. The whole point of this whole knit a stash challenge is to get rid of the stash. Not get rid of it. Get rid of always sounds so negative. Just use the stash is, I think, what I should say. I want to use the stash and make nice things of it, but I also want to see the stash go down, because I have so much yarn. I have too much yarn. And I think if I'm doing bigger projects like blankets, or even this big shawl that just use up this much yarn, or a jumper, these things use a lot of yarn, and they are actually quite useful. So it's not just knitting for knitting's sake, or for the sake of using up yarn, but it actually gives me something very nice, very useful at the end, and it makes me really happy to see the stash go down. It makes me so happy. This is really weird how happy it makes me to see the yarn being used up. It's just great. I love knitting. Knitting obviously makes me really happy, but seeing the yarn go down makes me a different kind of happy, but it makes me very happy. So I wanted to make a few more really large projects just to have this feeling, get this happiness from this. Because what I usually do, because when I knit my lace projects, lace doesn't take up lots of yarn. It just takes up lots of time, but it doesn't actually use a lot of yarn. So while you work on something for a few months, the yarn that you use in these few months is so little. It's barely ever 100 grams. It's most of the time not even one cone of yarn. So you don't see the stash going down. But with big projects, blankets, jumpers, or this big shawl that I made, um, just goes down really quickly. Makes me very happy, because then I also don't feel bad about buying more yarn, which is, as we all know, a completely different hobby, not related to knitting at all. They are adjacent hobbies, but not related. Anyway, so that's my kind of plan. We'll see what March brings. I'll check in the beginning of April. See you then. Bye bye.